Okay, and the kind of last area that I'll go into is the role of public investment and green growth. So, will the green economy simply finance itself? Can we simply rely on entrepreneurs, people with great ideas, enlightened bankers to somehow finance the green economy? And I think the general understanding is that whilst that may indeed play a role, public investment is also going to be critical. And this is something that's not just coming from the perspective of lots of NGOs and sort of greenies. This is something that was written quite clearly in the Secretary-General's report for the first preparatory meeting for the summit, which was informed in turn by many countries writing their submissions. So this is a generally accepted fact that you're going to need public investment, specifically in infrastructure for green growth. The kind of infrastructure changes you need to support a green economy, such as transport, smart grids, all of these kinds of things, will need public stimulus packages, will require that kind of investment. It will also require investment for green jobs and green growth. And public investment packages will play an important role there. We talk about ecosystem recapitalisation, which is effectively a way of saying how do we actually restore our ecosystems, and where do we get the money to do that? How do we preserve and conserve them? Well, again, you can't always rely on private investment flows to deliver those kinds of outcomes. That the public spending and public infrastructure will also play a role there, and in turn, jobs will be created as requirements for conserving and preserving particular ecosystem-rich areas. Also, research and development, there isn't always the commercial incentive to invest in the level of research and development that's required for the green technologies that we really need to take us to the next level in the green economy. And then lastly, of course, the role of the public sector and public regulation in ensuring social protection and equity. You can't simply rely on a green economy to be delivered by markets alone. The public and the government will also have to play some role in making sure that the fruits of that green economy is distributed equally. And developing countries especially feel very strongly about the role of social equity in any green economy. So these are some of the debates flying around there that will hopefully sort of whet your appetite and stimulate your thinking. I'm just going to very quickly shoot through some of the main issues that came out of the first preparatory meeting for the summit that took place in May. So governments came together and had the first kinds of conversations about all these issues, and were kind of debating some of the issues that I've just raised. And so what were the kind of key points? You can find all this on our website, and you can find more detail if you read the reports from the preparatory meeting. But I picked out some of the key ones. And effectively, there was a general consensus that the green economy does need to be a vehicle towards sustainable development rather than an end in itself. There was a lot of enthusiasm around green jobs and green growth, that this offers an opportunity, that the green economy can create stability and create livelihoods rather than taking away livelihoods and creating instability. It's a really important point. So when you're discussing this in your groups, do think about, what appeals to decision makers as well? What are easy sells? Of course, no one size fits all. It will be important to establish some principles around the green economy, but you won't be simply able to develop a package that is completely applicable to all environments. The whole issue around ecosystem valuation, it's important for you to be aware that that is actually highly contentious. Whilst it seems to make sense in terms of incorporating environmental costs into our economy, there obviously are concerns around the marketisation of ecosystem services, the privatisation of ecosystem services. How do we really want to adopt a market approach in ecosystems when it's so monumentally failed in other areas? I'm not making a judgment on that. These are the kinds of debates that were had. Trade, massive issue. Perhaps something that in a local context we don't think about quite so much, but trade will be the trade green economy interface at a global level will be the subject to an enormous amount of heated debate, undoubtedly, towards Earth Summit. How do we establish standards when it comes to the trade of goods? How do we create environmental standards and encourage a green economy, a global trade of green goods, without creating standards that will have prohibitive impacts on certain, especially developing economies. Now, whether we like it a lot or not, a lot of developing countries see themselves at a competitive advantage because they don't have much environmental regulation. Take that competitive advantage away, and some of them see that that is a risk of green protectionism, as we might see it. So perhaps you're starting to see some of the contentious issues that are coming out. However, in light of that, can we establish some principles on the green economy? Not one size fits all, not completely prescriptive, but some principles that will be able to guide countries and will be able to guide them and provide some tools as they go forward to creating these green economies. And finally, it's all about money. We might want to talk about a green economy, but will we be able to, in 2012, actually come up globally with a stimulus package to actually achieve this?